How's it going, guys? TFF back here again with my weekly power rankings. Let's jump right into this. At 32, the New York Jets. They got shut out by the Denver Broncos. It was not a good game for them. Lots of penalties, drops, blown assignments, and Zach Wilson didn't look great. Barely even good in his start. They need to really get Corey Davis involved in that passing offense if they're going to go anywhere, but I don't see this changing in a tough division. At 31, Jacksonville Jaguars. Very, very interesting performance. Of course, they scored a kick return for a touchdown against the Cardinals at the end of the first half, but other than that, their offense and defense looked pretty lifeless. Lots of turnovers, but the Cardinals defense can perform like that, but still not good enough to win any football games, really. At number 30, New York Giants. It's a tough one, considering they're facing the Atlanta Falcons this week. It just wasn't great. Sterling Shepard went down. Darius Slayton also left the game. And all around, if they lose those types of weapons, they're not going to go too far in the future. At 29, Chicago Bears. Although they did win a game in the season and they're 1-2, they have not looked very good. Allen Robinson is not yet to get involved. David Montgomery, except for the first week, has been a little bit isolated. And Justin Fields was just getting pressured all game. It was a terrible display by the offensive line there, and that offense was really not going to go in. At 28, Houston Texans. They were a little bit of a below average team. Brandon Cooks is really the only bright spot with Tyrod Taylor being down. I don't see this team progressing too much further. At number 27, on 0-3 team, Detroit Lions. It was an interesting game, the Detroit Lions versus the Ravens. They put up definitely a good fight, and if it wasn't for Justin Tucker's um, almost historic field goal, the Lions would have beat one of the best teams in the AFC. And I think that makes them move up the rankings. They did play good football for large portions of the game. Number 26, Indianapolis Colts. I was really not impressed with their performance, and to be honest, I've been really impressed with their season. I'm not a big Carson Wentz guy, and I kind of getting paid dividends in the sense that he's not doing that good this season. At number 25, the Falcons move up a little bit on my list. They won a game against the Giants. Matt Ryan has been okay this season, but he wasn't too bad on the final drive or around the final drive. I think he scored a touchdown leading like a 75-yard drive. It was pretty good, and a game-winning field goal by one of the best kickers in the league, Young Ho Koo. All around, not a bad performance. At number 24, the Washington football team. It was an interesting game for sure. Buffalo went up 21-0, and then Washington coming back, but then from there they just blew it out. I think that was the Bills offense being really explosive, and the Washington football team offense being pretty dull, except for that big Antonio Gibson touchdown. At number 23, New England Patriots. They fell a lot. They didn't really look too impressive. It was just a kind of bland performance, and Mac Jones didn't look too great, getting intercepted several times. Not the Mac Jones we saw earlier in the season. At number 22, this one hurts me a little bit. Philadelphia Eagles. I thought they'd be much better than what they are. They have not looked good thus far, and they got beaten handily by the Cowboys who was for some garbage time touchdowns. At number 21, Miami Dolphins. They pushed the Raiders pretty far, especially without their starting quarterback, but still not a great performance all around. Number 20, Pittsburgh Steelers. They've really fell off a cliff ever since they've beat the Buffalo Bills in week one. They have not looked good in any sense. Najee Harris is the only bright spot in the receiving end. Needs to be a little bit more efficient in the running game, but I think that's the only bright spot of the team so far. At number 19, the team I was quite high on before, but kind of move them around a little bit, is the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow has looked pretty decent. And they did win 24-10 over the Steelers, who have been looking good. Jamar Chase, of course, scoring another touchdown. It's an explosive offense. That defense is a little bit concerning, though. At number 18, New Orleans Saints. It was an interesting performance. They were facing a weak New England team, and they just haven't looked very convincing to me. But they do get an interesting matchup next week against the Giants, who are winless. At number 17, dropping quite a bit, is the Seattle Seahawks. They didn't really look good in a loss to the Minnesota Vikings. I think Kirk Cousins looked fantastic, but a game where the Vikings did not have Dalvin Cook, that has to be a must win for the Seahawks. Disappointing. At number 16, the team that beat the Seahawks, the Minnesota Vikings. I think that they did good. Kirk Cousins looked quite good. The Adam Thielen touchdown was very nice, and Matheson really got going. I think that they're a strong offensive team. Their defense is a little bit lackadaisical. At number 15, Tennessee Titans. A.J. Brown went down. Julio Jones hasn't really looked like himself, but Derrick King Henry is just looking like his nickname. He's looking like a king, and he's looking good. At number 14, Dallas Cowboys. I've been big on this Dak Prescott for MVP, and I think he showed a lot of that yesterday or a few days ago. Ezekiel Elliott did take some of the touchdowns away from them, as red zone touchdowns did go to Ezekiel Elliott, but still he looked fantastic. At number 13, a team I wasn't really expecting at the beginning of the season to do great or even good, is the Carolina Panthers. 3-0, rated 13 on my list. Defense is looking elite. Sam Darnold is looking good, but with Christian McCaffrey going down, how will they be able to cope? That's going to be an interesting question for next week. Number 12, the Denver Broncos. Undefeated, but it's been a little bit easy, especially considering they were facing Zach Wilson, and then they also beat up on Trevor Lawrence. The defense is good, but Teddy Bridgewater is a little bit iffy still, but I like the way he's been playing. At number 11, Arizona Cardinals, 3-0. Kyler Murray wasn't as convincing as normal, but the defense really stepped up. At number 10, a huge win for this team, the Los Angeles Chargers, beating the Kansas City Chiefs. The interception late by Patrick Mahomes kind of ended the game for them. And Justin Herbert, you can't give him that much time. He's going to efficiently move the ball down the field, and that's what happened and led to a win. Number 9, Las Vegas Raiders, 3-0. It was a difficult one that really shouldn't have been that difficult against a Miami team who didn't have their starting quarterback. Derek Carr looking good again. Um, I also like to see Darren Waller getting involved, especially if he can replicate something like that first game against the Ravens. That would be interesting to see for sure. At number 8, a team I was always high on, the Cleveland Browns, 26-6, but they just kind of destroyed the Bears, especially defensively. Myles Garrett was just going crazy. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, of course, the best running back duo in the league. I think that they're still an extremely strong team. At number 7, San Francisco 49ers. I think the only thing that really went wrong for them is they left too much time on the clock late in the game for Aaron Rodgers to drive down the field and score the winning field goal. I think that they look strong. Ayuk was trying to get more involved. Deebo Samuel was trying to get more involved. George Kittle, I believe, does not have a red zone target, so that's going to be something that you should look out for in the future. Number 6, dropping a lot, Kansas City Chiefs. They have not looked good in the slightest. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was doing decent, better this game, but Mahomes, unlike him, throwing 2 interceptions. They really got to turn it around. I definitely think they're still going to be a contender, but right now they're on a little bit of a slump, especially Tyreek Hill also not getting involved in the offense is also a little bit of an issue. At number 5, Baltimore Ravens squeaking out a win. I guess they played decent football, not the greatest. Lamar Jackson, not the greatest. But if, in all honesty, when I was watching the game, if Hollywood Brown just made a few receptions, this would have been a blowout. So that's why they didn't drop too much on my list. At number 4, Buffalo Bills, dominant performance by the offense, dominating the Washington football team. They've looked good offensively and defensively. They get a nice matchup next week against the Houston Texans before they go off and face the Chiefs. So next week's quite important for them, and they might move up my rankings a little bit. Number 3, Green Bay Packers. After that first week disaster, they've looked absolutely fantastic. Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, all looking really sharp, and Jair Alexander getting a pick in the game. All around, they look like a solidly strong team. Number 2, a team that lost last week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady looking like MVP form, but they're looking fantastic, but they lost to what I believe is the best team in the NFL, and that leads me on to number 1, the Los Angeles Rams. Defense has been elite with Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. They've been very good. And then offensively, Matt Stafford looks like an MVP caliber quarterback, and they beat the Buccaneers without their starting running back, Darrell Henderson. Thank you guys so much. TFF out. Like and subscribe.